So our topic today is supply chain, and what best than to start with disruption. It seems the world is undergoing all kinds of changes: tariffs, ESGs, geopolitical unrest. So how do you think the supply chain angle is being managed? Every business today is trying to figure out long-held beliefs like global sourcing, strategic vendor relationships, low-cost offshore manufacturing is all turned upside down. How do you think at Acer you're looking at all these in the current scenario?
Thanks. We have seen actually. Okay. There's a time when economies of scale was of paramount importance whenever someone talked about a supply chain. Therefore, there was a lot of consolidation which took place. It helped, especially in the technological industry, to bring the cost down, faster adoption, etc., etc. Then came the COVID, right? And suddenly the entire supply chain, where majority was dependent on one country, China, got disrupted. And that changed the way people started thinking about what are the risks associated with such a consolidated supply chain. The industries, the countries, the people, they all started talking about how do we decentralize. So that was one of the eye-opener for the world to say, you can't have everything at one place. You got to look at decentralization to de-risk the business. Then, of course, we have seen in the last few years, not only, let's say, in the last, after the last US election, but otherwise also, from the globalization, most of the countries, there's geopolitical change which has taken place. It's not only in the US, which we read nowadays a lot of things about a tariff, someday 20%, someday 100%, and the other country 125%, 10%, all those, then withdrawal, all those kind of uncertainty. I'm sure somewhere it will settle down. But there was a time when WTO started playing an important role. That means the policies, the principles, the way the business should be conducted, this should be done, this should not be done, etc., etc. What should be our duty structures? All that was governed by the WTO. And then the many countries, especially the developing countries like the India or many of the Southeastern countries, they realized that that was not favorable to them. And hence, the principle of the FTAs, that means we are talking about country-to-country agreements on the various duty structures. We have something, Vietnam has got something, so how do you trade? How do you do the trade agreement between the two countries? That started gaining certain momentum. And then now we've seen, after the US election, the change of the policies, the kind of uncertainties which are there. So this is how the business is going to change. At Acer, when we started our journey in India in '99. And we always believed at that point in time, this was not a scenario, this was not a business case at that point of time, but we realized that we should be closer to the market. So the India market, we should be closer, and therefore in the first year of operations, we started our manufacturing facility in Pondicherry. Over the years, the factory has stayed. There has been ups and downs, companies have come, companies have gone. We have stayed invested and we have grown over the years. And this is what is helping us during this time of the uncertainties, right? So after this changes which are taking place post-COVID, and of course the government's initiative of making the Make in India, the various production link incentive schemes being announced, we had definitely had the advantage of the first mover. We already had the infrastructure. Today, closer to about 70 to 75% of our domestic requirements we are meeting from the India manufacturing base. And in the process developing many subsidiaries or many sub-assembly plants, etc., etc. We participated in PLI 1.0, we participated in PLI 2.0, and definitely we see that all these initiatives are going to help us, because somewhere down the line, the organizations will realize, number one, the importance of India as a country as a consumer. We have a large consumer base, we have a huge population. For the PC category, the penetration is very low. We are still hovering around 10 to 11%. So for a PC industry, India is still a big market. So you can have economies of scale for the domestic production, and then that can give us the advantage of being an export oriented. We are quite hopeful that as and when this tariff war settles down, there will be a lot of manufacturing. They have started moving. Those of you who read the newspaper, you will know the electronics export over the last few years from India has grown up tremendously. I'm sure we will continue to have that path. Many more industries, many more companies will start moving their production. If not completely, at least they will have, let's say, China plus one policy, so that they have the globe has an alternative source. We have the advantages. We have with the infrastructure improvement, the logistics and supply chain have become much smoother. We have a skilled labor force, and as long as there is a stability in the policy regime, I'm sure we will see a major shift, which is for the advantage to India.
Thank you, Sudhir. So you're saying from a global sourcing concentration, people are looking at more decentralized, more local production.
That's right.
And since this was also a D2C event, I also wanted to understand, with the advent of omni-channels in terms of selling and reaching to your consumers, how has that changed your supply chain over the last few years in India, as against selling through stores or dealers to selling directly online?
So for any brand, it's important that we make the choices available to the consumer from where he wants to buy. As the consumer demography is changing, right? So let's say since I've been in the industry for so many years, so when I would buy about in 90s or 2000, the look and feel and the touch was important because I was not aware of the technology. I was not aware of the use of the PCs. So the stores, the online, the offline stores, the retail outlets was very, very important. It is still very important. There is still a mass which will like to buy a product after looking at it from these features, from this usage. They'll also like to have a comfort of, let's say, getting it serviced or fulfilled by a next door neighbor. So that market is going to stay. But at the same time, with the young generation, the Gen Z coming in, they're aware of what they want to buy with whatever features, and they want a convenience of buying, and therefore the growth of the online. So for any brand, we have to have both the presence. Acer has the multiple brand outlets. We cover almost all pin codes. I mean, we have the stores. We have our own branded retail stores in about 250 at the 250 locations. We also have close to about 3,000 retailers who are not the branded retails, but they do we call it general trade or the resellers, let's say JC Road kind of resellers. We have those. We know it is important for us to be closer to the consumer if they want to have a look and feel. But at the same time, we should also give an option to the consumer to buy online. So we have both the biggies like the Flipkart, Amazon, and our own e-store. And we leave the choice to the consumer to buy other. We have also made the quick commerce. I was hearing in the previous session someone talking about saying for this product, obviously the 10 minutes delivery is not possible. You will not believe, last year during we call it Big Billion Day, but the Flipkart, I mean that Diwali sale which takes place, there's a consumer who ordered, sitting in a Starbucks, a PC costing 1.5 lakh, and it was delivered to him in 10 minutes. So even for the PC, the quick commerce is gaining. Of course, for the accessories, the earpods and all that, definitely. But even on the quick commerce route also, through the PC as a technology is available, and a lot of retailers are offering that.
In fact, even Apple was usurped by quick commerce. People were lining in front of the stores, and the stores opened at 9, and I think one of our quick commerce player delivered it much before any of the stores at 8 a.m. So, well, you can never be sure what you can sell out of quick commerce, is it?
It never ceases to amaze what quick commerce is capable of.
So Swati, now coming to you, you're from a completely different industry. That's the electronics and tech world, and this is the food and brand and what we consume at home on an everyday world. My question to you is from your previous life, which is at Cargill, when you were sourcing sugar, possibly from sources across the globe. With the current scenario that we are seeing, how do you think it's going to play out for food sourcing in supply chains? How is it going to impact the world?
I think the world is in a bit of a topsy-turvy, especially the trading world, the commodities trading world, because the commodity trading world is very much linked globally. So when these global networks are shaken, whether it's the Ukraine thing or now with the US thing, it's definitely having an impact on global trade flows. So for example, let's take example of sunflower oil. We all consume sunflower oil, it's there in all our homes. A very large supplier of sunflower oil is Ukraine. So when this Ukraine-Russia thing happened, that sunflower supply just stopped. So every consumer in India felt the pain of sunflower oil prices rising. The demand was still there because the consumers used to consuming sunflower oil, but the supply is not coming. Ships were not available because the ships were not willing to take the Black Sea route. So yeah, it turned the world upside down. The economics flared up, inflation went up. So yeah, the impact is super, super significant whenever the world economics changes. Even now, with tariffs coming in, there will definitely be a demand-supply shift which is going to happen. Trade flows will change. The cost of servicing will change. For example, if you're moving a vessel, a ship carrying commodities from, say, US to India, for example, or China to the US, that's going to change. Now the cost of servicing will go up because if China is not going to supply, some other country will supply. The economics of that is going to change. So finally the consumer will get impacted. Inflation will go up in countries. I think we are seeing a bubble, but I think this is soon going to boil over and the impact is going to be significant. I personally think there will be a bit of turmoil. Then we'll settle into a new pattern, the new order will get established. I think we were discussing before we came into this room, commerce has a way of finding a solution. It'll take a little while, but yeah, disruption is there for sure till the new order will get established.
So while all this disruption is happening and you may need to find new sources, you may need to find new transport partners, you may need to find new pricing solutions, do you think technology, and have you leveraged technology, and do you think that could help in solving at least some part of these challenges? Like you're able to connect to vendors across an ecosystem instead of just having a strategic partner?
I think technology is a way of life now. And I think whenever there is turmoil, I think technology is something which will help in streamlining it. So, for example, better transparency in knowing what are your alternate suppliers. Technology plays a key role in connecting the buyers, the suppliers, having information readily available. There are so many platforms now. I mean, if I look at it, when I started trading commodities, 25, 27 years from now, even when a vessel carrying sugar left Brazil and was coming towards India, it's worth $10 million. The person who's paid for it really wants to know, where is my $10 million? And there was no way to find out. We would give an estimated time. This is when your vessel will arrive. And then obviously the importer had to do a lot of stuff, right? Have a warehouse ready, have trucks ready, because even one day, if that vessel waits outside, it costs $25,000 a day. There was no technology. It was just a guess estimate. Now, if there is bad weather from Brazil to India, that vessel could be stuck and you've got all your costs lined up. So I think technology has really changed. I think it's made life easier. It'll continue to play a big role. And I think in this turmoil situation, a lot of companies, individuals will definitely resort to technology. I think that will narrow the turmoil period for sure. Turmoil is there for sure, but technology will really, really help in easing or reducing this turmoil period for sure.
So you had something to comment?
So technology, as she mentioned, is a way of life, and one is, of course, in the supplier side, connecting with the points which she mentioned, but in the D2C environment, and the consumer choices being so different, whether it's the fashion or technology is the same, right? Let's say if you have a laptop and it has multiple colors, it's a silver, black, pink, orange, whatever, right? You got to know. We have also analyzed that demographically, a Kerala consumer might like a different kind of a color, while a West Bengal consumer might require a different kind of a color. This information, this AI, this information, this technological tools of understanding the consumer behavior is really helpful for any industry to plan its supply chain. You know, how much to stock. I mean, fine, it's a GST regime today, the infrastructure is better, you can operate with a single warehouse, but still if you want to have a quick commerce, you want to have a one-day delivery, you got to understand how much inventory, especially when there's turmoil on the supply side, you got to manage your inventory well. And for that, the technology is playing an important role, and of course, there's always improvements which are possible to see how is the consumer behavior, what kind of a choices he has, what is his liking, what are the buying patterns, what are the seasonalities, what are the various factors. So technology today in a supply chain is an integral part. I mean, any industry which is especially in the D2C, when you're talking, when you're fulfilling a consumer needs, if you are not incorporating that, that means you are running actually an inefficient supply chain.
That's true. So now, beyond the sugar world, you have now started your new career in developing a new brand, Jivana. How is the difference that you're saying? How has your experience been in creating the brand and reaching it to your end consumer?
So I think if I just take the theme of technology, which Sudhir was saying, I think technology plays a super huge impact when it comes to building a B2C brand. And technology has really changed the game. So now, for example, we've got a number of salespeople. They go from shop to shop taking orders. All of them have handheld devices. They take the orders. It integrates with a distributor management system. So the order flows in. So a salesperson goes, he sells 10 bags of, say, jaggery. The order flows to the distributor. The distributor in turn punches it in. It integrates with our SAP at the plant and in our setup. So better inventory management, better stock control, lesser expiries. It just smoothens the whole process. I'm able to manage my capital better. I'm able to do some wonderful data analytics, like Sudhir was saying, to be able to figure out, in this season, say for example, jaggery consumption goes up during Ganesh Chaturthi. Yeah, and in these particular localities, because a lot of local people are living in this, so I can manage my supply chain so much better. I know my data analytics. Just because of technology, I have the data analytics to say, okay, I need to at least be prepared that I'll need 1.5 months of the average consumption in this period, in this locality. Rather than stuffing it all across India, I can just concentrate on that. So huge savings, better efficiency, great data analytics, insights. You can tailor micro programs depending on the data that's coming. So very efficient utilization of resources.
So I guess the growth of Jivana has, in the last, as you mentioned, 1 year, you've grown it to 100 crore, which is almost 100% growth. Yeah. That's an amazing achievement. Yeah. And glad to know that technology helped you in some way on that.
Definitely. Definitely.
And I just wanted to change the direction of our conversation now to a little bit more from sales to returns. So returns, as they say today in the omnichannel and D2C world, is possibly a key metric to keep an eye on because it can make or break a business. Perhaps the fashion industry is a lot more affected by it, but that doesn't mean the electronics or the food industry is not. My first question on returns it to you, Sudhir. With all the ESG and all the disruptions and that we see, how are you seeing, how is Acer managing this? Because today ESG compliances and BRSR reports are critical. You need to ensure what is your carbon footprint, how you are recycling, and for you it's a double whammy because you also have to keep in mind technology. Your PCs are shifting every year, people are upgrading. What happens to those which are consigned to the landfill?
Yeah, we belong to an industry where the product life cycle is very short, right? There's a time when most of the PCs, which let's say when we used to have it for 5 years, but today, with the new generation, mobile phone is changed after every 6 months, but PCs also change after every 1 year. Right? And we understand this as a challenge. So we integrate this circular economic principle right from the design phase. That means you got to design a product which is easy to repair, easy to refurbish, and then easy to recycle, so that we can enhance the product life cycle. And then, of course, we can make an impact on the environment or less polluting environment. In India, definitely it's doable because you got to understand, as I mentioned earlier, our penetration of the PC is only 11%. There are first-time buyers, there are aspirational buyers, they don't know how to use. So there is a market where a slightly structured, proper, refurbished goods, you can still sell it in India. So that's definitely possible, especially for the first-time buyer. Having said that, we are strongly committed to the ESG initiatives at the global level. Therefore, our product design takes care of that if the product has to be recyclable, then it is easy to recycle. So as per the government policies, there are norms where we have collection centers. If a consumer wants to return the product, we collect the product, we either refurbish it and then sell it for the needy ones, or we recycle it in the plants to take out all those, the way as per the pollution control norms, we cycle those and take it out. The advantage which we have, as I mentioned, we started our manufacturing initiatives much earlier in '99, and that domestic production footprint gives us an advantage of ensuring that our component supply chain is also localized, so it's easier to do a faster recycling or the refurbishing as and when it is required. That's the third one. Of course, we are strongly committed to the ESG initiatives, and therefore all the new products which are designed, right from the carton box to whatever inside this packing material to the plastics which are used in this species, they are all either used from the recyclable plastics or they can be easily recyclable. So those are the various initiatives. It's a challenge, but I think as an industry, our commitment to these initiatives are important. At the same time, we also would like to see that as long as that product can be used not by that particular consumer, but some other consumer, we still are able to refurbish in a proper way and then able to resell it to the consumers who needs it.
I think culturally also India is a country where recycling is a value for us. So world over there is this categorization of how you manage. They say it's cradle to gate. Are those brands which take care of it only up till their factories, and there are cradle to graveyard where brands take care of their products but till the time they are like completely decommissioned, possibly cars, but cars also bring in like ESG compliance, energy efficiency, and then there are cradle to cradle, the complete circular, and I think Acer falls in that most responsible cycle.
Yes, we have the commitment to the COPA norms that we will be the carbon neutral by 2030, all our products, and as a local compliance, there are e-waste initiatives which are there by the government of India. We fully comply and then do it. But as I said, if you ask me as a person, we got to understand with the penetration of only 11%, even a slightly older technology. I mean, if you see the mobile phones, all of us are using the smartphones. I'm sure many of you would be, not me, but many of you would be, let's say, replenishing it or doing a fresh buying after every year. But there are still people who use the feature phone, right? I mean, there's a huge population which still use the feature phone. So any of these electronic products are still usable. I mean, as long as the brands are able to make it work efficiently in a proper structured way. So that's the first attempt we do. And as I said, because of the local component ecosystem, we are able to meet that. If not, then of course we got to do the e-waste cycling and then.
Swati, coming to you, in food it is a little different. Not much gets wasted, especially in a commodity staples category. However, it's a responsibility, ESG responsibility on what goes into the food that is created, and your business is all about creating pure, eco-friendly, non-chemically treated brands. What is your take on the circularity and returns? And I guess the only area of relevance over here would be packaging materials. So how is Jivana doing it differently?
So I think the whole ethos of Jivana as a brand is actually, and that's how it came into effect, was that the price spread between pure consumer products which are entering Indian kitchens, there were these organic brands which a lot of Indians just can't afford to have. And we were seeing there were rise in diseases, more people getting hospitalized. And so there was a clear need that there was a gap that in the mass market, pure affordable products were not really available. And as Indians, we land up cooking a lot of meals at home, unlike the West, where they eat a lot of packaged food. Indians typically cook at home. So that's how Jivana was born. We said we would be happy if we made products that we would like to get into our kitchens, where we would like our family to consume it. So Jivana is based on having pure, non-adulterated product available for the masses. So, when we set out about it, we are a part of Somaya Group, and Somaya Group, even before these mandates of ESG, etc. came in, they historically believed in sustainability. So, we have our own sugar mill. So there was a lot of work being done on sustainability side with the cane farmers. So a lot of education, schools, colleges, access to clean water, a lot of research going into the farmers and telling them, look, this soil that you are using, you're constantly putting urea in it. But let us do a soil sample and we are telling you there is enough nitrogen in your soil. Do not put urea. Save that money. It's good for the soil. It's good for the earth. It's good for you. And so, use that money and supplement it with some other organic based solution which could be made from cow dung and natural resources which are available. So in a way it becomes a circular economy because now the farmer saved some money. The soil health has improved because he's not, without understanding, just putting urea and NPK and all of that. Because he saves money, he's able to put better products, the productivity goes up. So on that same piece of land now, he's growing more product, more money to the farmer. So, that cycle continues.
Cycle.
Yeah, so it's cycle. So I think Jivana came into existence because this sustainability thing was at the core of the group. And so we launched these products which are pure, unadulterated. And yes, packaging is a big thing because when you put staple products into Indian homes, there is the plastic. So I think that's food for thought. We are working on it. But the plastic, of course, that we use is recyclable. But we are also looking at more innovative packaging which can brave the high temperatures, the humidity, etc. And the product remains safe and pure to be consumed at home. That's a challenge. But I think on the plastic side, the plastic that we use are completely recyclable.
Thank you so much, both of you. Are there any audience questions before we wrap up?
Looks like we have a question. We'll pass on the mic to you. Just give us one moment, please. There.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, my name is Rahul. I'm from Big City. My question is for Mr. Sudhir. Mr. Sudhir, you had an interesting point that you touched upon when you were talking about EPR and everything. And I understand that with the new EPR rules, there are a certain percentage of collection that you need to do as a producer. I wanted to check how you plan to put that in your supply chain. Does it even be part of your supply chain or is that treated separately? Or is there a specific circuit that is out there that makes sure that whatever you're producing, you are collecting half of it in some form or the other? Because everyone these days just goes to a Cashify or gives it to some unknown guy who's taking it. We don't know what happens to the device. Just want to check what's the supply chain twist to that. Thanks.
Okay, so there are rules and of course we understand, but it's a asset. If there's an asset which is owned by consumer, it is his choice, what does he do? The companies, the brands can't force it. Give it to me, no. The government can't force it, it's my choice. So what as a brand we offer is, we have enabled the choices where the consumer, if he wants to recycle, he can, let's say, contact us. We will collect the goods, put it in the reverse supply chain, get the products back to us, we'll collect the goods and do it. But ultimately, whether he wants to utilize, it says we can't go and say, oh, look, it's 3 years, give me your product. Once the product comes back, we look at the status of the product, whether it is still reusable, whether it's we can refurbish and give it to, say, someone who is needy, etc., in a fully functional and all that. Depending on the status of that product which is returned, you take a decision of either refurbishing or recycling. For recycling, there are government approved plants which are there, which will take out a material and do it in a disposal in a way which is as per the pollution control guidelines. But as again said, there is a reverse supply chain which is enabled, but you leave the choice to the consumer whether he wants to utilize or not utilize.
Thank you,
Second
sir.
thing, and to enable that, we also, the only thing which as a brand we do, you would have seen on many of the sites or in the retail outlets, we do offer exchange offers to the consumer. If you want to do it, we'll collect your own one and then we'll give something if you're doing a fresh buying. So that's another way of promoting the returns as per the government policy, but then again, the choice is left to the consumer.